Okay, today we've got a good mate of mine. We talk so much about high performance. I've seen him train. He trains extremely hard, and I've seen it firsthand. You can see why he's a great leader, but I want to talk about Lone Crow before we start. We should have had the package here. Lone Crow, best coffee out there. One of our good mates the other day had some, and I asked him, I go, what's it like? He goes, Matt, what did I say when I was sitting with you having coffee the other day? I said it was my favourite coffee. And we know who the gentleman is. And I just want a big shout out to Lone Crow because we're going to have it here, and obviously we're going to do a few of these. But the biggest thing we want to work on with these 10 episodes is about high performance. And, recently and in the past, I've seen a few of your athletes. Well, I call them athletes because I think they're all athletes. One recently, and we've kind of seen what these high-level players, and more importantly, this Daily M type of player, right, at their peak. And you've had a few. And what I wanted to talk about today is what separates individuals, right? And I've had some great guests on the podcast, Tyran. So, my first question, I guess, is like, what separates someone at that highest point? Like, and let's go Daily M player because we look at that as the pinnacle. Whether you win your fullback position, wing position, center position, whatever position it is, what's the talent and mindset or something else in that area that separates that person that's in first grade?
First thing I think about is the dedication and the drive and the self-belief, self-driven. They keep going.
Yeah.
They get, sometimes it's like you get a taste of it and then you love that feeling, you love being at the pinnacle, so you keep going again. And it's long periods of time because a year it's long. It goes quick, but then it's long at the same time. But they just keep working, staying back longer, working on their game, understanding what they have to do to continue at that level. And then they know themselves. They know when they're a little bit off. They know when they need to trim that up, take that off, lift that score.
So they're very self-aware.
Extremely. I think that's the key. That's the key to it, Mads.
And one thing I want to mention in that area, when there was a player a few years ago, and obviously I know a lot of different, gyms in the world, and we were lucky enough to get one of your players into that gym, and I was in the WhatsApp group, and just the level this guy was training at, sending videos all the time, and I didn't expect that from him, Tyran. I didn't. I really, really didn't. And when I seen it, I understood then why this guy's at the top of his game. So and that's a credit to you because I just couldn't believe how fit. He was in the off-season trip away with his family. I mean, it's huge what these players can do, especially the ones that you've been managing for a while. Is there a common thread with these Daily M players? Because, obviously, you see some players win and the next year they're not quite there. Obviously, they've put in a lot of effort. And then you see certain players that stay there, right? And it's like anything, right? Like I've seen you're at the Coogee Stairs every Saturday. And sometimes you muck around with me. Okay, you know what, Ty? Oh, you go, Mets, you know what, this week, man, I've just had it, it's hard, man. I can't do it, but you're there, right? Because you muck around with me a lot. You're so consistent. What do you see the difference is? There's some players that just continue to stay up there and there's players that fall back. What's the difference there?
And like what I said before, it's the self-drive, okay? And it's being aware, being conscious. Not just going with the flow. You stay, and you know that saying, show me your 5 closest mates, I'll show you your future. If you let someone negative, someone talking down, someone doing what I joke around, mate, it's too cold now, let's not go, I might just have a day off. Someone just plants that seed, and if you're not conscious about what you want to achieve, you'll take that bait and then you will drop off a bit. So complacency in sports, it's very big, mate. You'll get sometimes, not all of them, signing a long contract, they go missing. When they have really big years, it can be the year before or the year they're off.
Yeah. When one of your players makes the tabloids, do you get worried if they're reading, or do you tell them to stay away from it?
No, the younger guys who can sort of always help educate them, and not educate them as in just pass my knowledge on to them to understand and to continually know who you are. Who are you inside? And you got to learn that young. I find it's very important to know who you are, your character, your disciplines, what integrity you have. And it's important to carry that through your career because it gets very volatile. It's a mental challenge. You know, some games you're not on. You know, some games you kill it. You want to try and you've got to have that mental capacity to continue lifting, going back to your basics. Going back to your basics, the things that help you get to where you were when you're performing and, yeah, implementing them again. And so, like young guys, I always encourage them to have a diary. Yeah, it's in diary.
You know, what's funny, you mentioned that because last week I was sitting down with a particular individual and you said, mate, write everything down.
Takes away the guesswork.
Yeah.
You write it down, I ate this, I slept there, I drank this much water, and leading up to a game, and you perform, then you just need to backtrack 3 or 4 days and see, and then mimic it. Do the same thing, repeat it. If you need to get to that feel like you did on that day and you perform the way you did, if you prepare your body that way, then it's just your mentality that needs to get out there to perform it, if you want to call it.
I know, 100%. And, you know, and I want to give context on this because, you know, last week when I said, can the individual come at this time? So, Mets, they can come at whatever time is necessary because those times that they have to come in when they've got to perform or do those extras, it's absolutely necessary. You know, sometimes when it's like workers here, right? Say I've got a team. They're not used to coming at a certain time. They're not used to working back at a certain time. And you have to almost explain or give them the vision of where it's going to get them, right? You know, whether it's a better life, whether, you know, they can have sort of better times, better vacations. And what I mean is not partying, but, you know, people want to see the world. But, you know, as a player, most players want to be able to get that big contract because they will either want to help a family member or someone else, or they've dreamt of always playing for, say, New South Wales, Australia. Everyone's kind of wants to get to the top of the pinnacle. And that's why I'm going to go to this part. And when you say to those players, get there early, how important is it to make sacrifices? Because playing rugby league for 10 years, it's a big slog. It's hard. Or 12 years or 15 years, you've always dreamed of it. But the sacrifices that come with it, bro, they're massive. How important is sacrifice?
Again, all of these topics you're talking about, they're all equally important.
Yeah.
The self-drive. So at the start, you have to be led, taught, get to crack the whip, be told what to do. But after a while, you have to learn that this is to benefit you and you only. The harder you work, the better I'm going to get. The more I put in, the better I can be. It's there. So turning up early, turning up before everyone, getting in the work, more work than the other guys that you're competing with, because we might have spoken about this or not, but before you play against the team, you're competing with your mate. It's me or you. Who's going to be in the back row? There's 5 of us. Who are they going to pick? Someone's got to miss out. So you have to identify that, understand it, and then do what you can to continue improving and getting better than the guy, your mate.
So that's not always easy either, right? Because these guys are playing together, they're in the sheds together, they're doing absolutely everything together. What are some of the challenges that they have to overcome in that process? Is it because, you know, it's like anything, right? Everything is competitive. If I don't do my best here at the gym, if I don't upgrade the gym, if I don't go to that next level, if I don't create the right standards, if I don't create the right customer service, customers are going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I've got to keep pushing that standard because At the end of the day, those gyms might like me. Those gym owners might like me. I don't know. They might like me. They might not like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they only care about their business. But, you know, I've still got a good relationship with all of them. They care about their business. They care about their standards. It's important for a player, right, and correct me if I'm wrong, to focus on their standards, even though it's their teammates, right?
Yep. You got to work on yourself first. You got to isolate yourself. Like it's a team sport, but it's individually performing at a level. KPIs, like your workers here. You expect, they have KPIs that you put out for them. And if you don't achieve them, then you're not pulling your weight and worth your value maybe. And then what it's important to do, when you're working earlier and working on yourself more, you're making yourself more valuable. So what's the difference with a guy earning 200 grand and a guy earning $1 million? It's not extra 5 hit-ups. It comes down to what value you bring to that organisation, what value you bring to the guys around you. When you're working, you're turning up early and working hard on your game, and they see that, that encourages them. So you've got different attributes to bring. So it's not just on the field, like, mate, some guys are freaks and on the field they perform. But it comes with preparation and sacrifice and the disciplines and everything else that rubs off on other players.
Is that the kind of attributes and principles and values that you sort of embody and you want to teach to your players?
Yeah, I do. I feel I'm very disciplined. I'm honest. Like I live the life that I talk about. So my actions are what matter to me, and the people around me too. I like actions. Everyone talks. Everyone says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but not very many people do it, especially these days. They can put a big front on, they can post it, put it on their social media for a while, but it takes a lot of consciousness, self-discipline to keep it up. When it's cold, when it's wet, when it's hot, when all of it.
And one thing I've seen with you is like, you could see you're very organised in terms of like, you know exactly when you're going to train. You know exactly when you're going to work. You know exactly when you're going to have your meetings. One thing you never veer away from, and I've seen you here on many Sundays, it's like, you know, church. You know Tyran's going to be here around 10, 11 a.m. on a Sunday, right? Like all the time. I know when I come here on a Sunday, I go, I'm definitely going to see Tyran Smith. And they're the attributes and the values and the principles that matter to anyone to be successful, especially like obviously when you're managing your players. You know, one thing I've noticed is like great leaders lead from the front. They show up and they do the work alongside whoever their team is. And I think that makes a big difference. And one thing I'll probably mention is like years ago, I was seeing Wayne Bennett up here with the English side and like he was in his late 60s and he was doing the leg press. And it just showed me like, I go, fuck, just that leadership matters a lot, right?
Yeah, I that's very high on my priority list, is showing these guys, showing people, showing my kids, showing the people around me, showing my friends that I won't just say it, I'll do it. My actions. I'm honest, my actions show it. I'm loyal, my actions will show it.
And that's what I love. That's what I love about what you do. Then I'm not just sucking up. I mean it, because you test me all the time. You actually test me. So, Mets, just go to bed. Take it easy today. If you, I'm going to move to this part, like the blueprint. We talk about this blueprint.
Yep.
We talked about the diary, how important the diary is. If I'm a new guy coming through, you said make sure you have a diary. Is it important to have a calendar? I said to one of your guys the other day, I said, listen, whether you're fit and whether you're injured, you should have a blueprint for both, right? Because if you get hurt, you get to work. If you feel good, you stay working on the things that you've got to work at. If you were to look at a blueprint, and I'm coming through, right? You talked about the diary, but what else do you want me to have? Like, what would you build in that blueprint?
Well, just depends on your position, what you are.
Well, I played lock. Give me. I was lock.
Okay, lock.
Second
You
round.
know, if you're light, but you got to understand to build your core, build the fundamentals. It's not just about getting there and lifting steel. You know this.
Yes.
You know better than me.
Man.
Okay, it's no use doing seated rows or push press when you can't even do your own body weight. It's no use. Yeah, a lot of big guys, young kids, can't even do chin-ups. So it's about
Push-ups, chin-ups, dips, like the fundamentals.
Yeah. And single leg squats. Learn to control your core too. So it depends. Say you're light. You need to build your core and the foundations before you go to that next level. Okay, and doing your weights. You got to have a good eating plan.
How important is that, man?
Eating plans, it's massive. I find that, and I thought a bit like this, and most players do, in my experiences, finish a game, have their cheat meal. But it's about turning their mentality a bit to go, you know what, you finished the game, your body's damaged, you're recovering, you know, your muscles, you got micro tears and whatever you want to call it. It's best to get a really good meal in, just so you can help your body recover with the fuel. And then if you need a cheat meal, which, you know, not everything's
perfect.
No, you can have your cheat meal, but the next day.
Yeah.
So little things like that.
Yeah. And obviously them coming in to grade, or anyone coming to grade, they probably don't look at those small things, right? So that's part of the one blueprint. We talked about the diary. That's another part of the blueprint. You talked about the body weight stuff. You know, build the foundations before you start doing the other lifts that are necessary. What else would I have to be looking at? If I've done all those things, because they're great lessons, because I guarantee you they're not doing all those from the get-go. They're not doing all those. What would be another thing that might be important for me to consider?
Working on your skill.
Yep.
And to be honest, it's, in my experiences as well, it's very rare that you get taught a skill by a coach.
Yeah.
Young guys coming through, they just have an expectation. And it's only when you don't successfully pass the ball from left to right and you throw it out on the full that a coach will tell you to pick it up and be better than that. But it comes down to you and how much time you've spend on the park on your skill as well. If you need better footwork, you've got to go out and work on your footwork yourself. If you need quicker feet off the mark, you need to go and work on it yourself. You need to pack this stuff in. If you're a kicker, kicking, mate, a lot of young guys do that now that I have looked after and look after. Go down the park and take the balls and kick them down there themselves. Goal kicking, it's all about repetition.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. It's not. It's those fundamentals. You can read about it. The Kobe Bryants, the Steph Currys and that. What do they do?
Yeah.
Look, it's just like, it actually sounds easy.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not, but it is.
Yeah, it is. What I love about that is, you know, I was with one of your players the other day and I said, you've got to look at this as a full-time professional job. How are you going to fill in the 7 days from your recovery? Like you said before, and I love it, write in your diary, what did you do today? How are you going to be a professional athlete? Focusing on your recovery, focusing on your diary, focusing on your calendar, focusing on your ball playing, left to right, running, stepping. You know, there's 7 days. It's 168 hours in the week. You're a professional athlete. What are you going to do? And I would almost throw this into any profession. I don't care if you make coffee. How good's your coffee?
Yeah.
What's your design look like? What's your greeting look like? What does your attire look like? How are you bringing out the best so you stand out the most?
It's like exactly what you said. It's like you got to look at things like you're an artist. Like you're painting a picture. And you just need to fill it in and visualize and understand what you need to do to make that painting stand out for everyone. And it's It's a massive opportunity. It's a great opportunity.
Yep.
You can go from working loading containers to playing NRL to earning millions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And that's the difference, right? And like, when I'm saying, this is what it takes for an individual that hasn't made it yet. And then when you look at the guys at the top, then you go, they're doing all those.
Yeah.
They're smashing.
And you have to do it.
Yeah.
So some guys learn earlier
Yeah.
than others. Some take a bit of time, then realise, mate, if I come in early, tick these boxes, even if it's recovery. It doesn't have to always be, some guys that'll look after go in early, they start at 6:30, they'll be in at 5 o'clock. They get in before the traffic if they're travelling from...
Out west,
yeah. If they're playing over this way. And then they get in early and it gives them time to beat the traffic so it doesn't take them as much time. And then get in and hot, cold recovery stretch. Do your rehabs, your rotator cuff exercises, you know what I mean? You're balancing your core stuff.
It's funny you say that because that's what I want to talk about. Recovery is such a massive part. These guys at the top are running more and doing more than everyone else. You got your recovery, then you got your mobility work. And I was talking to James, our friend, before, and we talked about the importance of Pilates. Pilates for your core, Pilates to activate all those little muscles. All these little modalities that Pilates gives that most classes don't give is so important, especially for the player not to get injured, more importantly, but also in the recovery phase. So it's preventative and also great for recovery.
Prevention. It's better than the cure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it's opening your mind. Being able to open your mind to it.
Yeah.
Some guys can just rubbish it. Like sometimes it can happen to us or to me. I go, mate, as if. Yeah. Or you stop and you think about it and you process it and then you try it. Then you go make your decision after that. That's a big part of it too. So I like to, with the younger guys that I'm helping develop, is to keep an open mind. Keep your core foundations. You need to work on those and keep them rock solid at the start of your career. Your character, discipline, always building it. Because if you don't, what I find is it's easier to be swayed and take that easy option.
It is. Like, funny enough, I was training with one of your boys the other day and I'd done dumbbell work, dumbbell bench press. I haven't done that for over 10 years. And I got a really, really good workout. I felt every part. And it's one of those things I didn't want to go in that area. We got some of the best machines here. I went there and I actually done it and I go, fuck, why have I not done this for a while? And sometimes it's not about sort of getting complacent, but I'm at the point where I also want to prevent getting injured. But when you do it with good technique, it makes a big difference. I asked you this before, but has there a player where you go, man, I go pretty hard, but this guy's just surprised me a lot. This guy's blown me away. You don't have to name names, but has there been, with the young lad I was training with the other day, some of the lifts he was competing with me, and I was surprised. And I go, fuck, all right, he's got a bit here. Got a bit here.
There's been plenty, mates. Like, you wouldn't expect anything else. Some of them, they can't keep up, but then the ones that get to the top, they leave me personally behind.
Yeah.
And they're always competing to get themselves better. And that comes down to, again, being conscious about knowing what you want, knowing what level you need to be at.
Yeah.
Again, having that awareness. There can be, 30, 50 games, 50 game NRL is sort of like you're established. 50 games, because you've got through 2 years, you've had a few injuries, you're able to rehab, and you've been consistent and focused enough to continue on. Okay? But then you get to 70, 80, 70 to 120 games, it's like your peak. On top of 120, 140, 160, that's up there. You know who you are, you know yourself, you know what you're about. So that's a bit of a gauge as well.
Wow. When you get those numbers, like with all the different injuries that an individual has, how are these guys, like I'm assuming the guy's a freak at training, but they get injured. Are these guys coming back faster than the average guy?
They'll be more focused on recovery at times. Some of them, rugby league, you need luck. You create your own luck as well.
Yeah.
It's bad luck too. If you get caught in a position and you causes an injury, that's bad luck. But they've had their injuries and they just, they work harder. And when they come back, it's no warming into it. 5 games, give me 6 games. It's not. You watch the really good guys come back, they're just effective straight away.
Yeah. I kind of seen that in Cleary, that plays for Penrith. I've seen like how fast he just comes. There's like no warm-up stage. It's going full pelt. And then, you know, in other sides, you see some players and you go, that guy's carrying an injury. And it makes me think that, you know, like, say your leg's broken. You got the other leg you can train. You got the upper body you can train. So you can essentially get back to work as soon as you're out from under the knife. And it makes me think that certain players start training everywhere except that affected area.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah.
And I don't know Cleary personally, but I've read a lot of things and heard that he stays back and works extremely hard on his game, even when it's video.
Yeah. That's another thing, right? Like, how important is like those video sessions?
I think they're really important. Some players think that, you know, analysis paralysis, you give them too much information and it works the opposite to them. But if you can understand that as well and master it, mate, you can work out a whole heap of things. You can work out what you're doing wrong. You can work out what your opposition does, what's his best play. You can see all of that, but then you got to visualize and see yourself being able to accommodate it at least, and then play your game over the top of them. So that would come from video. That would come from, analysing a team.
Yeah.
Do they shift one way more than the other? Do they shift my way? Where do they go? Do they go to the 50 and then back? Are they working short sides? And they have different game plans, but you can watch 10 games and get an idea, maybe.
Rugby league's like a business. Like your body's like a business, getting ready for you know, for the games, and then, like you said, you can analyse it way too much, and then you don't know what you're doing. It's like you've gone overboard now. I want to touch on this, like, because we don't just do this. You're not just a rugby league manager. You also own businesses. Obviously, you know the process of Lone Crow. I just started Substance not long ago. And, you know, I focused so hard on what was in the product that, you know, the label I didn't do as well. And like recently I've just been working so hard on it, and I've got the last prototype of the label on there. And, you know, I just had a meeting just earlier, and we were talking about the process we had to go through that. You know what I mean? Because I was so focused on what was in the product for a whole year. Just focus. And then it got to the design part, and then I was like, fuck. And then you're just looking at it every single day, and you're just going over the revision and the revision and the revision. And it's not always easy, and it's good to have a few eyes. So you could be watching video work, and it's really hard. I want to just switch this to Lone Crow a little bit, right? What was that like? I mean, you were talking about coffee for a long time before it started. What was that like? What was that process? Because all these processes are very, very similar. You know, you get it in the store, then you got new challenges.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think firstly, everyone has to be passionate that's involved. So it's Reem's company.
Yep.
Okay, had the vision. He's got a good partner, Benny.
Yep.
That's works diligently,
Mm.
and everyone comes with their different. We've got designers. We've got social media.
Marketing company.
Yeah, marketing company that work. We went through a few changes and the first company didn't match, and we didn't know, and it was an expensive lesson.
Yeah.
Then we tweaked that, and it's about, like, it's like footy too. It's staying in the game, hanging in there when it's not working, hanging in there and learning and evolving.
Yep.
Taking mate, I could have worked on this design a bit better. Okay, next time I'm going to be focused on it. And then you have to be focused on your product, on the design, on the marketing, on who you're tailoring it to. Mate, Lone Crow, for a company that's maybe not even a year old, I think, sold over 100 ton of coffee. Fuck. Yeah, and that's a collective of a really good an engine room, I feel. And we had the challenges, the upsides and the downsides, but we've got a pretty good team.
Yeah. You said it's 12 months old, but how long was Reams and you guys talking about it before it actually made the shelf?
Yeah, years.
Yeah.
Because actually, and I'm not too sure, Remus has spoken about it, but it was always something. He's a community-orientated guy. He's, the people that know him, you can see that he's pretty easygoing.
Yeah.
But he wanted to create something that people can get around and talk and communicate for the community. So then he said, "What about coffee?"
Well, that's a good one, man. Because coffee really is that thing that brings the community together. When we have meetings and we're talking to people, we're always having coffee.
Yeah, mate, that's what it is. Let's get together and have a coffee.
We're gonna have
tying
one
his
after
indigenous
this.
side in with it is
You
really.
and Kenny, we're gonna have one after this. I like having coffee with Tyran. I like to analyse and talk about exactly what we've done afterwards. So that's why it's great. That's why next time we're gonna bring Lane Crow in here, and what I love about it is, and I know Reams, and I know what he's like. He's that type of character. He's got that character where it's like he wants to give. And it's funny, I think about it. And years ago, I remember when I had the shop around the corner, and he said that comment to me. But now I think about it, it was almost like his destiny to create something like this. And and hats off to you, because one thing that I've seen you do with your players is going, hey, this is your career, but what else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You always set your guys up. We're talking off camera, a couple of days ago, and you said, mate, this guy's getting his first property, and it's like you're proud. You go, and it's funny because last week when we were having coffee, one of our mates goes, man, I remember when we had that conversation with that particular player, and then I seen him at the Coogee stairs, and I'm going, is this guy serious?
Yeah.
He goes, and he's one of our most honest mates. Calls a spade a spade. No one calls a spade like him.
Yeah.
And at one point he goes, he didn't think he was going to make it because just of his discipline, which we touched on a lot about there. How proud of you are you, like when you see these players go to that next level and then want to buy their first property?
How proud am I? I'm extremely proud, because you can play football and you can sacrifice and all the injuries and everything you go through. You want to finish. You want to make it worth your while. So sometimes if there's some savings difficulties, saving your money, or I like to think outside the box and how can we assist with this. And then in that respect, they have a bit of a team of guys that I would trust, that I trust to do my things. And when I have a team like that, then I can trust them with the players too. And when they get to know them, then they communicate, and it sort of fits in. Everything works. It takes that same discipline to, put your money aside, or if you can't, stick to a process.
It almost comes back to the same thing that you said to your player. Write everything down.
Yeah.
See what worked.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that worked, that's what you're going to start to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because we were talking, and one thing I know about you and I've learnt from you is like, can you take me through the process, Mets? Like, tell me how this works. And we spoke about, an individual where, they said that they've got all this going, and you said, well, do you know it? Do you know it? I know you don't have to know it all, but do you understand and know it yourself? Because you could put the trust in anyone, but do you understand how this works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes back to, you don't have to know everything, but you have to know what the process of the individual that's in charge of whatever you're doing right now, so that way you can cross-check everything.
Yeah, we can't know everything. It's impossible. And it's no ego, I find, to say, I don't know that question, but let me find someone that can answer it for you in the correct manner. Going back to the property and stuff too, Mets, just to, like, different people are different as well.
Yeah.
So some will stick to a structure and some won't as well. You know, so everyone has their own choice.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah, and I like to teach you. It has to come from the player as well. You know, the player has to identify a property that he wants to live in, what he's happy with. He has to go out and research it. It can't just be all dumped to him and he just wakes up and says, yeah, that's good. No, it's got to come from inside you. And you've got to want to work. You've got to want to put in the process in place. You want to put your time, invest your time into it. Then it will become worthwhile. Then it will become meaningful to you. And when it's meaningful to you, then you will step up again, ready to go again.
Because it's a big commitment, man. It is. It's like, it's a commitment, and you got to do your homework, right? And it's not always going to be for everyone, but it's very important to know what's out there. Know what's out there. Finally, like, today's obviously been about creating the top performer, the daily end player, right? And it's not just about daily end player, but I think it relates to everything, from the young guy going to the next level to the guy at the top. But finally, like, what does it take to become a daily end player? And what I mean by this, are they born or are they made?
Nah, I think, mate, not everyone's the same, and some of them are extremely gifted and talented and put themselves in the right place to become successful. But I truly believe, with respect to, you can be manufactured too, to get to the pinnacle.
Yeah.
If you have the right guidance and the right processes in place, you're at the right club that prioritizes you. And you got the right team around it that you can trust, and you're actually working hard and putting in the hard yards and not just saying it and hiding, actually putting it in, then you can, mate, there's plenty of players out there that are just hard-working, diligent guys that do those fundamentals extremely well, and they rise to the top as well. So there's different
categories.
Different categories of players.
Yeah. Because obviously, like, if I'm big, if I'm fast, and I've got the right body structure, and now I put in the work, and then there's a player that doesn't have that body structure that puts in the work. Well, one's got the advantage because he's got the genetics, right? You can't pull away from the genetic pull.
Yep. And it's
not to say the other guy can't make it, but you're talking about two different structures.
Yeah.
But just both putting in the same effort. But obviously these guys, these are both decently fast, but this guy's just got a bigger structure about him.
A bigger structure. He's got a different work ethic. He's got a different mentality. I see, and I've seen a lot in my time, the players, the young guys that are contracted to the big contracts for 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds that never make it.
Yeah.
Because they get to a point and they rest.
Mm.
They become complacent. They
Do you
don't
see
have
that
to
a lot?
play
Does that
that
happen a
trial.
lot?
Yeah, a lot. They don't have to play that game. You're in. You're already contracted. You don't have to play Matthew Shield trial number 1.
Mm.
So they kick back. And because they're young and they don't really understand it, they get complacent. And it's like, I'm in. I don't have to do much more. But the kid that has to play or that didn't even get picked is the one that's gone down to the park.
Mm.
Is the one that looks and just has to get out his diary.
Yeah.
Because he hears about it and he's just trying everything.
Mm.
Yeah. And then when a guy that's not had to work hard and being given the front seat comes up against a guy that's been working in the dark, working on his own and built that resilience and toughness and knows what he's had to eat and followed his blueprint, when they match, then the guy that's worked hard will beat the guy that hasn't worked all the time.
It's funny you say that. And it's what I want to ask you as well. Like, I've been in business for a while, and I used to go, that person's got it, that person's going to do it. But that wasn't the person. Okay, that person's got it. And then, as I said, let me build the process, let me build a system, let me see who takes that process and system to the next level, right? Rather than like putting all my not my eggs in the one basket, but like just going, that the person's the savior, that person's going to make it, we're going to build a team and we're going to go to that next level. And every time I thought like that, it never worked out. Have you ever looked at them, like, and especially early in your management career, where you go, oh man, well, I've got it figured out? Because like I used to think that I got it figured out, and I go, fuck, I don't have it figured out.
No, man, 100%.
But do you know what I mean? When you first start, you go, mate, yeah, everything's just working, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, fuck, I thought I had it figured out.
Yeah. And that's coming to realization and lowering your ego just to accept that you don't have it worked out, or I don't have it worked out, and what you have to continue working on to evolve. And in rugby league, the game keeps evolving.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, shorter, heavier guys it was harder for them to fit into the NRL system.
Yeah.
And it was all the big, tall, 6'6" wingers, centers, and back rows and all of that. And then when they brought in the new rule of 6 to go, 6 again, the smaller players
came back into it. Yeah.
So it's always evolving.
Yeah.
And life evolves, and we get older and we get wiser, and we have more learnings. You've heard the saying, a smart person learns from their own mistakes, but an even smarter person learns from their mistakes and someone else's.
One thing is, like, obviously this is the first of many, and every time I sit with you, I walk away a bit more inspired. We talk, like, I know behind the scenes you're going to create something. You know what I mean? That's gonna help more players than ever before. Obviously, this podcast, like, people always ask me, I had Charlie Teo here, I had Ricky Calissimo, who's doing huge stuff in the boxing promotions area. And, in life, when you're doing well, it doesn't matter what it is. Whether you're a player, whether you're a manager, it doesn't matter what it is. A lot of doors open, but there's a lot of I'm not going to call them like, I'll call it what it is, undesirable people that just want to take, right? And if you're a rugby league player, there's people that go, mate, you're the guy, we want to give you everything. How wary do you have to be of those individuals that are coming at you? Because there's new doors open, and there's probably 2 or 3 traps. Do you know what I mean? It's not it's not like, hey, it's all sunshine and roses now.
Again, Mats, you got to have the guys around you to be able to identify that. You got to have the education. You got to have the conversations with people that you can trust, and what to be aware of. Because you got a beacon on you. They'll come for you.
Yeah.
They're looking for you. Vulnerable. If you got an ego, because you need a bit of an ego, but if it's unchecked, it's hard to control. And they tell you what you want to hear. You think they're genuine, They flash a bit of money sometimes. They have a fast car maybe. The things that you desire, the things that a lot of young people, not all again, but look at those things as success.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
And if you know it and you trust the guys around you and they say, mate, you got to go easy, you got to stay away from that person, that just be careful of it. Then,
Tread cautiously, right?
Yeah.
Tread cautiously, do your homework.
Yeah, everyone needs it. And you need, again, what I find, building relationships with people to see, so they can see the truth. And you have to feel it inside you, man. It's got to come from your heart, mate, or your gut.
Yeah.
I believe that. So, and we can only help them at times. Sometimes people need to learn a hard lesson.
Yeah.
All of us, at times.
Yeah.
We've learnt. We've all made mistakes. And you just go, what? And then you move on.
Yeah.
Not move on, what? Learn from it and then try to be better.
Yeah.
And it's about teaching them that. And when they do fall over, you got to be there to support them.
One thing I just got to thank you for, obviously, I trained with my daughter's boyfriend today. I truly love training young people that, and the one individual that we know, where you could just see they've got this thing about them. They're just good kids. You could just see it, you know what I mean? And there's not, and people ask about giving back, and you do heaps of that, especially every Saturday down at Coogee Stairs. It's so important to be able to do that. It's almost like you almost need that because it lights the fire up in you. It's so important to do.
You have to, Mets. That's one lesson that I want to pass on. To give.
Yeah.
Give. Open your hand to give, then you can receive. Doesn't work the other way around.
Yeah.
Can't hold your stuff and receive. Got to give first.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be highlighted, I think. It's not all about ourselves. It's not all about, what you do for me and what, it's not. It's about how can you help other people too. And when you have that satisfaction, it's always better, I find, to give someone a present. Give someone things that that they love, and when they open up, you go, mate, they say, what? Instead of yourself. So that's another way to understand it.
But you also did mention to that individual, you said, you're getting this now. You got to find someone to give someone to. You did mention that. Yeah. It's very, very important. Like you give, one thing you do really well is you give lessons pretty quick.
Yeah.
To those individuals. It's like you've got this like knack of like, these are the things that, if someone gets this, they're going to be reminded of what they've got to do by giving it forward after, they get to where they got to get to.
Yeah, creating better people, mates, to create a better environment, a better place to live.
Also, don't forget Lone Crow. We've got a big event at Kenny's on Sunday. Can you make a video of this? Because Lone Crow, one of the greatest of all time, when he came in today, I was on 2 steps and I was still shorter than him. You know what I mean? So I'm going to need a big step. Substance is going to be there. Lone Crow is going to be there. We're going to have some of the best creatives down at the studio in Matraville. It's going to be huge, and it's going to be all over social media. We're going to have some of the best in the game. We're going to have Sony there.
Yeah.
Plus, both of us are going to be there. I mean, that's huge in itself, right?
Huh? That's all we need, mate. It's you and I. And we've got a really good barista on, one of our best.
The best,
so, mate, we've got to get down there
and make sure you don't drink any coffee, because you're about to get energized with the best coffee in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this Saturday, what was the address? So I could say it on the camera.
41 Perry Street, Matraville.
41 Perry Street, Matraville, the biggest and best get together for creatives. Lone Crow is going to be there. Substance and Tyran Fitness with our team are going to be there. And taste testing, best coffees, best energy. I can't wait. Thanks again, Tyran.
All good.